By 1942, British tank designers faced a serious dilemma. German tanks like the Panzer IV F2 and the brand new Tiger I were dominating the battlefield. Existing British cruiser tanks couldn't match them, especially not in firepower. What the British needed was a tank that could mount the powerful 17-pounder gun, but time wasn't on their side. The Challenger A30. Not the modern one that looks like it eats autocannons for breakfast. I'm talking about the awkward World War II uncle. Meet the cruiser Mk8 Challenger, Britain's early attempt at turning a Cromwell into a sniper, and arguably the world's first tank stretch limo. It had one job: carry the mighty 17-pounder. What it didn't get was subtlety, armor, or good turret ergonomics. Let's rewind to 1942. The Germans are showing up with Tigers and long-barreled Panzers, and British tankers are realizing that 6-pounders and pop guns aren't cutting it. The answer? The QF 17-pounder anti-tank gun. The 17-pounder was a beast. It was among the most powerful anti-tank guns of the war and could penetrate nearly any German tank frontally with the right ammunition. But this firepower came with a cost. It was large and heavy to cart around, and Britain needed to mobilize it fast. Thus they started to put them into tanks. The problem was, besides it being heavy, is that it also had a long recoil, making it extremely difficult to fit inside standard British tanks of the time. The Sherman Firefly had proven the gun could work in existing chassis, but the British wanted a domestic design, using their own tanks and their own platforms. So they turned to the Cromwell chassis and began a crash program to develop what became the A30 cruiser tank, or Challenger Mk1. The Challenger wasn't just a Cromwell with a new gun. To accommodate the massive 17-pounder and its equally massive recoil system, engineers had to extend the Cromwell's hull, adding a 6th road wheel to the suspension. They also designed a completely new and very large turret made of welded armor plates that required a crew of 5, including 2 loaders, to keep up with the 17-pounder's ammo. And so the Challenger was born, designed by the Birmingham Railway Carriage and Wagon Company. Yes, the same folks who sound like they should be building Hogwarts trains, not tanks. The turret made the tank one of the tallest British designs of the war, a real silhouette problem on the battlefield. To keep mobility up, armor was kept relatively light, particularly on the sides and rear. In many ways, the Challenger was more of a stopgap than a final solution. Internally, cramped, but externally, towering. The profile was so high, German gunners probably spotted it before it crossed the ridge. And what about the armor? Don't ask. The front could stop a few MG rounds and maybe some stern language, but otherwise it relied on not being hit. Very British. And what about the speed? Well, thanks to the trusty Rolls-Royce Meteor engine, it could still hit 50 kilometers an hour, so at least it could run away in style. Effectively, the speed was its best defense, not its armor. Challengers were mostly assigned to the Cromwell reconnaissance regiments, where their speed allowed them to keep up with the provided long-range fire support. This made the Challenger something of a sniper tank, not intended to slug it out up close, but to sit back and destroy German armor from range. The 17-pounder's high-velocity rounds gave it the teeth to destroy the Panthers and Tigers, but the tank's large profile and thin armor made it ill-suited to close combat. The Challenger was riddled with compromises. The turret front armor maxed out just over 100mm, but the sides were much thinner, and its large size made it very easy to spot. Worse still, the 2-loader system took up internal space, making the crew compartment cramped despite the turret's size. And since the tank was rushed into service, many units reported mechanical teething issues and poor ergonomics. Still, when the tanks were placed carefully and used correctly, it gave British tankers an edge they desperately needed. Production of the Challenger began in 1943, but delays meant that the tank didn't see combat until mid-1944 after the D-Day landings. Just 200 units were produced, a small number compared to other British tanks. Most served in Northwest Europe post D-Day. Why so few? Because while it had the gun, the layout was flawed and the next tank was already on the way, the Comet. The Comet basically took the Challenger's concept, made it lower, better armored, and just actually good. I won't be diving into the Comet today, as that is for another video in the near future. But In many ways, the Challenger wasn't an evolutionary dead end. It proved that a 17-pounder could be mounted in a tank, but it was too compromised to serve as a long-term solution. Designers learned from its flaws, and later tanks like the Comet and eventually the Centurion addressed the Challenger's shortcomings with better armor layouts, improved crew ergonomics, and more balanced gun systems. Today, only one of the Challengers have survived, of which can be seen at the Oorlogsmuseum in Overloon, Netherlands, and it looks just as confused in real life as it does in the photos. So in War Thunder, the A30 Challenger, or Challenger 1, proudly standing like it's trying to catch radio signals from Berlin, sits at a battle rating of 5.3 in realistic battles. It's supposedly a long-range tank destroyer in inverted commas. Spoiler alert, it is, but only if you play it like one. Let's talk about the gun. The 17-pounder in-game is, thankfully, still a beast. APDS rounds let you pen clean through Panthers, T-3045s, and even Tiger 1s if you hit the right spot. But it comes at a cost. Poor post-penetration damage. You'll penetrate them, and then you'll have to do a follow-up shot while they spin their turret towards you like you just insulted their mother. Turret rotation speed? Pretty damn good if you ask me. It doesn't play like a Cromwell or a Firefly. Surprisingly, it plays better. The turret rotation speed and two-man reload team makes this tank actually pretty formidable, and to my surprise, it outclasses its real-world version. As for the mobility, even more good news. It moves well on flat ground, the acceleration solid, and the reverse speed is okayish. You can get into positions fast and retreat just as quickly enough to avoid becoming a flaming wreck. Armor though, non-existent. You're made of aluminium hopes and thin steel dreams. Is it fun though? Yeah, in that high risk, high reward sort of way. When you land that long range pen on a Tiger and knock out his gunner, chef's kiss. When you get flanked by a Puma you didn't see and you get knocked out because of the lack of armor, rage quit levels rising. In terms of in-game realism, Gaijin actually did a solid job. The armor layout, turret size and crew positions are all fairly accurate. Even the dual loader setup is reflected in how fast you can reload after the first shell, then it slows if the loaders get taken out. Where War Thunder takes a few liberties is with the post-pen mechanics. The real 17-pounder was devastating. In-game it feels like you're firing titanium knitting needles. Lots of penetration, very little chaos afterwards. The A30 Challenger in War Thunder is accurate, awkward and a specialist's dream. It's not forgiving, it's not armored, it's certainly not pretty. But if you love a challenge and long-range fights, this tank will reward you. But treat it like the historical Challenger. Don't rush, don't lead, don't charge. And for the love of Churchill, stay hull down. So did Gaijin get it right? Honestly, yeah. They captured the spirit of the Challenger, a tank designed in a hurry with a gun that was ahead of its time, and ergonomics that were probably an afterthought. Now, only if they modeled how cramped it was actually inside, you'd probably have to rotate the turret just to breathe. That's it for this episode. Hit the like if you ever try to fight a Tiger in a tin can. Subscribe for more tank comparisons, historical breakdowns, and just the right amount of sarcasm. Considering the Panthers and Tiger tanks the Challenger faced, here are their breakdowns if you feel the need to dive down even deeper. And on that bombshell, I bid you all a farewell. Good night.